Hello, in this video we're going to talk about how to create the explicit process for a geometric sequence, and our objective today is students will be able to find the nth term of a geometric sequence using an explicit process. Remember that we have talked about the past couple of days a geometric sequence just being a sequence of numbers such as 2, 4, 8, 16, so on and so forth, where we are multiplying or where we are dividing. We're going to use the explicit process to help find the nth term, to find any term. Please remember to have written down the objective. So yesterday we talked about the explicit process for a geometric sequence, and we came up with the function f of x is equal to f of 0, which is our initial value, times r, which is our multiplier, to the x power. Now, a question here for prior knowledge just to think about is how do we calculate the common ratio, or our multiplier? And remember, in order to find that common ratio, we just identify how are my terms changing. 2, 4, 8, right? We're multiplying by 2. In your notes, you have these steps, and this is how to create an explicit process function from a geometric sequence. Step 1, remember, we need to determine, first of all, is the sequence geometric? Step 2, identify the rate of the multiplier and the initial value. So how are my terms changing, and what is my initial value, the 0th term. Lastly, all we go ahead and do is we're going to plug in our initial value here, and we're going to plug in our multiplier, the rate of our multiplier, the r value, which is here. So let's go ahead and look at some examples. Please go ahead and write down example 1 in your notes. Here we have a table of values, and we need to first identify the common ratio, the multiplier, and write down the function of the explicit process. So in this situation, I go from -4 to -8, -8 to -16, -16 to 32. There, our r value is 2. We are multiplying by 2 every single time. So my r value is 2. F of 0, that's the next step that we have to do. Well, the 0 term is here, and in order to find it, we have to go back a term. So I'm going to take -4, and I'm going to do the opposite. Instead of multiplying by 2, I'm going to divide by 2. And -4 divided by 2 is -2. So therefore, f of 0 is -2. I'm going to put this in red. Okay, and lastly, all we do is write our explicit process. So I'm going to write this, f of x is equal to f of 0, remember f of 0, which is -2, multiplied by our r value to the x power. So our r value is 2, and it's always to the x power. This is the explicit process for a geometric sequence. Remember, our objective today is to be able to find the nth term, and we'll eventually get to those problems where we find the nth term. Again, just constructing our explicit process. Here I need to identify my r value, so 54 to 18, sorry, -54 to 18. I'm not sure about that one yet. 18 to -6, okay, I kind of have an idea, and -6 to 2. Okay, so here I realize that we're dividing by 3, right? Absolute value-wise, we're decreasing, we're taking a third every single time. Notice, though, however, that my function values are alternating from negative to positive, negative to positive. When this is happening, you're multiplying or you're dividing by a negative value, and I'll actually put that in red, by a -3. Okay, so therefore our r value is negative, and Also, when you divide by 3, remember it is a fraction. So I'm really multiplying by a negative 1/3 every single time. Okay, so we found our R value, and now we're going to have to go ahead and find our initial value, f of 0. So in order to do this, we have to go backwards, and we realize we're dividing by negative 3. So in order to find f of 0, we're going to have to do the opposite of division, which is multiplication. We're going to multiply by negative 3. 54 times negative 3 is a positive 162. So f of 0 is 162. Okay, I have my pieces. All I have to do is plug in f of 0 and plug in my R value. So therefore, f of x is equal to 162 multiplied times my R value, which is a negative 1/3. Whenever you have a negative, please put it in parentheses, your R value. Put it in parentheses, and then the exponent goes up on the outside. Okay, this is my explicit process for this function here. What I would like you to do, please copy down this example and then try this one on your own. Please pause the video, try this on your own, and check and see how you did against my work. Okay, hopefully now you have paused the video. I'm going to go ahead and go through this. I'm going to find my R value, 64 to 16, 4 to 1. I realize I'm dividing by 4 here. All of them are positive, so I know it's a positive value, and my R value is 1/4. Okay, so again, we found our R value, it's 1/4, and now we're going to find the f of 0 value. So we're going to do the opposite. We're going to go ahead and multiply by 4, and 64 times 4 gives us 256. Pick up sticks. Okay, so I have blue, 256. So our explicit process is 256. That's my initial value, f of 0. And I'm going to plug in my R value, which is 1/4. So multiply times 1/4. Put it in parentheses if you have a fraction, especially also if you have a negative, and that is to the x power. Okay, for these next examples, we're going to construct our explicit process. You should be proficient at this, and then we're going to find a specific value in this sequence. So I'm going to kind of go through this quickly. We have this example, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, and we want to find the 10th term. Please fill this in your notes. Here, our R value, we're multiplying by 2, so my R value is 2. This is the first term in my sequence, so I need to go backwards. I'm going to divide by 2, and that gives me a f of 0 value of 1. So f of 0 is 1, meaning my function is 1 times 2 to the x power. Now, if I want to find the 10th term, all I'm going to do is I'm going to put in 10 for x, and then I'm going to solve. So 1 times 2 to the 10th power. Okay, and then we just compute this in our calculators. In order to do this, what you're going to do is you're going to push in your calculator 1 multiplied by, and then times 2, and then raise it, look for a caret button, and to the 10th power. If you have an iPhone or a Galaxy, tilt your calculator sideways, and you look for this button, X to the Y, or Y to the X. I believe iPhone is this one, and I believe Galaxy, Samsungs are those ones. But look for something like this. This is the exponent button. And if you get this, you should get 1 times 2 to the 10th. That is 1024. 1024. So this is the 10th term in the sequence if we kept going. Okay? Oops. Get out of there. All right, here we go. Next example. Example 3. On this example, we want to find the 7th term. Please include that. And here I'm going from 4802 to 686, 686 to 98, and I need to identify this. Here R is kind of tricky, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 686 and I'm going to divide by 98. Remember, this is how we can find our R value as well. So 686 divided by 98, and that is equal to 7. Okay, so that means what I'm doing is we're dividing by 7. We're dividing by 7, decreasing by 7. So the R value, sorry, it's not 7. It is 1 over 7, since we're dividing 1 over 7. In order to find f of 0, we're going to go back a term. So I'm going to take 4802, and instead of dividing by 7, we're going to multiply by 7. 482 times 7 gives us 4802 gives us 33614. 33614. Whew, it's a big number. Okay, and we're going to plug in this value, so 33,614, and we're going to multiply times our R value, 1/7 to the x power. Okay, we want to find the 7th term, so I plug in 7, and I get 33,614 multiplied times 1 over 7 to the 7th power. So here's what you're going to do for this one. Punch in 1 divided by 7. 1 divided by 7, and you'll get a value. Then hit the caret button, or your x to the y, or y to the x, whatever respective phone you have, and then punch in 7. Okay, that value, 1 divided by 7 to the 7th power, should be really, really small, 0.00001214. Okay, then we're going to hit the multiply button, and you're going to punch in 33614. And when you do this, multiply times 33614, when you do this, you should get 0.0408. So this is approximately 0.04, and we'll just round there. Okay, so that would be the 7th term in the sequence. Here's a you-do. Go ahead and pause the video, and then I'm going to quickly go through this problem. Okay, so here I'm identifying my R value. We're dividing by 3 every single time, so my R value is 1/3. My F is 0. I'm going to go backwards. I'm going to take 243, and I'm going to multiply by 3. So 243 times 3 gives me 729. That is my F is 0. So my F is 0 is 729 multiplied times 1/3 and to the x power. Now if I want to find the 7th term in the sequence, I just drop in 7 for x. So 1/3 to the 7th power. So what you should punch in is 1 divided by 3, your caret button, or your exponent button, to the 7th power. And when you do this, you should get 0.00045, something like that. And then we're going to multiply this times our initial value, 729. Multiply times 729. Okay, and that equals 0.333. Okay, our objective, we accomplished it. We found the nth term of a geometric sequence using the explicit process. Don't forget to like my video, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Schwarberg out.